Nick Carter, the heartthrob of the globally successful boy band Backstreet Boys, was one of the biggest pop stars of the 90s. His striking looks and undeniable talent made him a household name, with millions of fans worldwide and a career that spanned decades. Meanwhile, his younger brother Aaron Carter followed in his footsteps, carving out his own teen pop sensation status with chart-topping hits and a sparkling, carefree persona. Together, the Carter brothers lived a life that many could only dream of: luxurious mansions, flashy cars, yachts, and a network of A-list friends, living the epitome of fame and success, seemingly enjoying the rewards of their hard work and talent. But beneath the glitz and glamour, there was an undercurrent of tension. The boys' success caused their family structure to deteriorate, which caused it to fall apart behind the scenes. Their parents' volatile relationship reached a breaking point, leading to a highly publicized divorce that left a lasting impact on their children. As the family fractured, so did their sense of stability. For Nick, the eldest, fame was both a blessing and a burden. His escalating behavior, marked by public outbursts and brushes with the law, hinted at deeper struggles beneath his polished pop star persona. Meanwhile, Aaron, thrust into the limelight at a young age, grappled with the pressures of growing up under constant scrutiny. Their home life became a storm of financial disputes, emotional wounds, and unresolved trauma. The glamorous facade was hiding a darker, more complicated reality, where the price of fame came with personal and emotional costs that no amount of wealth could cure. The Carter family's story begins in 1979, when Robert and Jane Carter married. Together, they would eventually have 5 children, with Nick Carter being the firstborn in 1980. Seeking new opportunities and a change of pace, the Carters moved to Florida, where their children would grow up. This move marked the beginning of a new chapter, with Florida becoming the backdrop for the family's future ambitions. While the family faced their share of financial struggles, it was clear that their children, particularly Nick and Aaron, would become the central figures in the family's future. Their upbringing in a family deeply rooted in music, performance, and entertainment would soon pay off in ways they never imagined. During the early 90s, the world of pop music was dominated by the explosion of boy bands. At the time, groups like New Kids on the Block and New Edition were paving the way for the boy band phenomenon, drawing massive crowds and becoming international superstars. This was the environment that Nick Carter was thrust into when he joined the Backstreet Boys in 1993. The Backstreet Boys, formed in Orlando, Florida, their sound, blending pop with R&B, was crafted to appeal to both young girls and mainstream pop music fans alike. Initially, the Backstreet Boys struggled to find their footing in the US, where the charts were dominated by grunge rock led by Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and the emergence of gangsta rap through artists like Tupac, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg, and a growing fascination with R&B, fueled by artists such as Boyz II Men and Whitney Houston. Instead, the group found their first wave of success overseas. In Europe, particularly in Germany, the appetite for catchy, polished pop music was insatiable. The Backstreet Boys quickly became a sensation, with singles like We've Got It Going On and Quit Playing Games with My Heart dominating charts. Their European success built momentum, allowing the group to refine their style and stage presence while cultivating a loyal international fan base. By the mid-1990s, the global music landscape began shifting once again. The rise of the Spice Girls in 1996 reignited a global love for pop music. Their girl power anthem and infectious energy opened the door for a resurgence of bubblegum pop, creating a cultural moment ripe for boy bands to make their mark in the US. The Backstreet Boys capitalized on this shift, with their self-titled debut album, Making Waves Stateside. The release of Backstreet's Back in 1997 marked a turning point. With hits like Everybody, Backstreet's Back, and As Long as You Love Me, they achieved the perfect mix of danceable beats, heartfelt ballads, and anthems that resonated with both teenage fans and mainstream audiences. Their appeal was undeniable, and they quickly became one of the most recognizable pop acts in the world. This success culminated in 1999 with the release of Millennium, a cultural juggernaut that solidified their status as global superstars. Featuring iconic tracks like I Want It That Way, Larger Than Life, and Show Me the Meaning of Being Lonely, the album became a defining soundtrack of its time. Its polished production and universal themes spoke to a generation navigating the cusp of a new millennium.
The sophomore album from the Fierce Fivesome sold 500,000 copies on its first day, almost what Ricky sold in a week.
500,000 in one day. It scares me to see how good this album could really do.
Man, are they hot. And the Backstreet Boys are now going global. They kick off their world tour a week from today in Belgium.
Nick's boyish good looks and powerful voice made him the heartthrob of the group. His popularity soared alongside the Backstreet Boys' success, which included sold-out tours, music videos on heavy rotation on MTV, and a fan base that spanned continents. The group's success wasn't just about catchy pop tunes, it was also a cultural phenomenon. Their music videos, concerts, and public appearances made them global superstars, dominating the airwaves and youth culture in the late 90s. Nick Carter, alongside his bandmates A.J. McLean, Howie Dorough, Kevin Richardson, and Brian Littrell, became synonymous with 90s pop music, securing their place in history. Aaron Carter's rise as a solo artist came quickly after his brother Nick's success with the Backstreet Boys. While Nick was dominating the charts with the group, Aaron carved out his own space in the pop world, debuting with his self-titled album in 1997 at just 9 years old. Songs like Crush on You showcased his playful, age-appropriate themes, while his animated stage presence and endearing interviews revealed a natural performer who was comfortable in the spotlight. On one hand, he was a wide-eyed, innocent kid singing bubblegum pop, but on the other, he was stepping into an industry filled with immense pressures and expectations, making him a product of a time when child stars were increasingly becoming a staple in the entertainment industry. The pressures of a burgeoning music career meant he had to sacrifice the normal experiences of childhood. Long hours in recording studios, grueling tour schedules, and constant public appearances left little time for him to develop friendships or explore hobbies outside the spotlight.
Like many child stars, Aaron travels with a personal tutor so he doesn't fall behind with his schoolwork.
32? 32.
Also with him, his personal bodyguard Biscuit and his mother Jane, who acts as his manager and generally keeps him in line.
Everybody wants to give him presents all the time, and he gets so much adulation, but I have to bring him down to earth and say, no, well, you know, you have a nice talent that you can share with people to make people happy, but that doesn't make you a better, better than anyone else.
Jane is often accused of being a pushy showbiz mum, but she says her main role is protecting Aaron.
We have to get going too. It's really kind of good that I'm his manager as well as his parent, because I can see when he's had enough and say, hey, that's it. I'm not going to allow people to take advantage.
The album was a modest success, but it was his second album, Aaron's Party, Come Get It, released in 2000, that propelled him into the spotlight and solidified his place as a teen pop sensation. Aaron's Party, Come Get It was a massive hit, featuring chart-topping singles like I Want Candy, That's How I Beat Shaq, and Aaron's Party, Come Get It. With its upbeat, catchy tunes and Aaron's boy next door charm, the album quickly went platinum and introduced him to a wide audience of young fans. His image as a cute, innocent teen heartthrob was central to his appeal. His floppy blonde hair, wide smile, and youthful energy made him a favorite among preteens and teenagers who couldn't get enough of his songs. Though Aaron was Nick's younger brother, he was able to carve out his own identity in the music industry. While his early career was often compared to Nick's, Aaron made sure to develop a brand of his own that focused on his youthful, carefree persona and catchy pop music. He was able to capitalize on the massive success of his brother while still standing out as a solo artist, creating a distinct image of his own in the world of teen pop. When asked about being known as Nick Carter's little brother, Aaron responded, "I prefer to be myself, but I'll always be Nick Carter's little brother, and that's cool with me." Aaron and Nick shared a close bond that was evident both in their personal lives and public appearances. Despite the pressures of growing up in the spotlight, the brothers leaned on each other as they navigated the highs and lows of fame. Their relationship was marked by camaraderie, mutual support, and a shared understanding of what it meant to grow up in the entertainment industry. They often appeared together at red carpet events and award shows, dressed in matching outfits and enjoying the limelight as a duo. Their appearances were a reflection of their close bond, with the brothers reveling in their shared stardom. Whether it was attending awards shows or participating in press events, the Carters became a recognizable team, often seen together in interviews, on stage, in videos, and in public spaces. Their playful, fun-loving dynamic was a favorite of fans who loved seeing the brothers' chemistry and unity. With their success in the music industry, the Carter brothers were not only stars in their own right, but also symbols of the American dream, living a life filled with excess and indulgence. The family moved into sprawling, multi-million-dollar homes that reflected their newfound wealth, from lavish mansions to beachfront estates. Aaron, while still younger, was also enjoying the perks of his success, often photographed attending star-studded events and living a life of luxury. One of their most notable friendships was with pop icon Michael Jackson. The Jackson family was a fixture in the world of music, and Michael's influence on both Nick and Aaron was immense. The Carter brothers were seen at Michael's Neverland Ranch, where they were treated like royalty. Their bond with the King of Pop signaled their status in the entertainment industry, as it was documented and reported that Michael Jackson was a mentor and a friend to both. Aaron often spoke about Michael's kindness and generosity, emphasizing how the King of Pop treated him with respect and encouragement, despite the vast difference in their ages and statuses in the industry. At just 13 years old, Aaron was invited to perform at Michael Jackson's 30th anniversary celebration in 2001. Aaron delivered an electrifying rendition of I Want Candy, earning cheers from an audience that included Jackson himself. For Aaron, it was a surreal moment, performing in honor of the very artist who had inspired him. Just days later, the tragic events of 9/11 shook the world. In the aftermath, Michael Jackson spearheaded the tribute song What More Can I Give, intended to raise funds for those affected by the attacks. The charity single brought together an all-star cast, including Mariah Carey, Beyoncé, Celine Dion, Justin Timberlake, his brother Nick, and many more, with Aaron as one of the youngest participants. The song, which united an array of musical talents, reflected the humanitarian spirit Michael consistently advocated, and Aaron's inclusion symbolized not only his growing stature in the industry, but also the personal trust Michael placed in him. The landscape changed dramatically in November of 2003 when Michael Jackson was arrested on allegations of child molestation, leading to a highly publicized trial in 2005. This period tested the loyalty of those close to Michael as public opinion divided and media scrutiny reached a fever pitch. For Aaron Carter, who had spent time at Michael's Neverland Ranch and knew him personally, the allegations were deeply troubling, not because he believed them, but because he felt Michael was misunderstood and wrongly vilified.
What are your thoughts on everything Michael's been going through and all the accusations now against him?
I think he's stupid, because I know for a fact he likes girls. Trust me.
Okay, how do you know for a fact that he likes girls?
Because I've seen him with girls. I've seen him walk up to a girl, and get her number, and call her up and talk to her and say, hey, baby, what are you doing?
You ever seen him kiss a girl, hold hands with a girl?
Yeah, I've seen him kiss a girl before. Oh, yeah, I've seen him totally make out with a girl before.
Where was that? Was that at his ranch or?
I was at his ranch, yeah.
Do you know who the girl was?
Just like a fan or something.
You hung out with him when you were how old the first time?
I was 14.
Were there children there when you were visiting?
There were about 5 or 6 kids there.
And you never saw anything inappropriate?
No, I never saw anything.
His public support stood in contrast to the wave of negative press surrounding Michael, a bold move for a young celebrity who could have distanced himself to avoid controversy. Aaron, in particular, also became a tabloid fixture due to his romantic relationships with 2 of the biggest young stars of the era, Lindsay Lohan and Hilary Duff. Aaron's high-profile relationships with these 2 beloved actresses added fuel to the fire of media attention. In many ways, the brothers became trapped by their own success, as their lives were dissected daily by the media and consumed by their fans. The intense media attention took a toll on both brothers, especially as their personal lives became more turbulent. As the years progressed, Nick Carter's life became increasingly chaotic behind the scenes. Despite his early success with the Backstreet Boys, Nick was struggling with a desire to break free from his teen heartthrob image. By 2002, Nick's behavior began to raise concerns. On January 2, 2002, he was arrested at a nightclub in Tampa, Florida. The incident occurred after police were called to the nightclub following reports of a heated disturbance. According to reports, Nick refused to leave the club when asked, leading to an altercation with officers.
Nick Carter, shown here flashing a peace sign just hours before his brush with the law, was arrested at the Tampa nightclub Pop City Wednesday for allegedly ignoring police orders.
After 10 or so warnings, he was subsequently arrested for resisting or opposing a police officer without violence.
According to Tampa police spokesman Joe Durkin, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed 21-year-old pop star was handcuffed and ticketed after refusing police orders to shut up and leave the club after a fight broke out. The cops say Nick wasn't being violent. He just wouldn't stop arguing with a woman.
He's kind of the last of the Backstreet Boys that you'd expect to get arrested.
While he later claimed it was a misunderstanding, the arrest marked a turning point for Nick's reputation, painting him as a rebellious celebrity unable to handle the pressures of fame. A couple of days later, looking to explain the situation, Nick called into MTV Total Request Live, simply stating he was, quote, in the wrong place at the wrong time. Further stating, I can tell you I did not do anything wrong, and I know that for a fact. If I disrespected a cop in any way, I apologize.
I gotta ask, I mean, you've talked to the band, obviously. What was that conversation like, and who was the first person that you did speak with?
What, with the other guys?
Yeah.
Well, they called up, and they knew it was blown out of proportion. I got a call from Kevin. He was like, what happened, little bro? And left a message because he was up in the mountains. I'm like, so I called him back and left this big message and told him basically what happened. But, I mean, again, unfortunately, this is the kind of stuff that happens sometimes. But, I mean, just to let everybody know, I ain't a bad person. I've never been in trouble my whole life. I was basically in tears almost.
Right, it's sort of blown out of proportion. Oh, Nick.
The public perception of Nick as the bad boy began to form, despite his attempts to distance himself from the clean-cut image associated with his boy band persona. By 2001, the Backstreet Boys had reached a crossroads. Their 2000 album, Black and Blue, was a commercial success, but internal struggles and a changing music industry led to a hiatus. The group decided to take a break, citing burnout and the need for individual growth. During this hiatus, Nick decided to strike out on his own. This pause provided an opportunity for Nick to pursue his long-held desire to create a solo album and carve out his own identity as a solo artist. In November 2002, he released his first solo album, Now or Never, in an attempt to step out from the Backstreet Boys, shadow, and reinvent himself as a solo artist. The album leaned into a more rock-inspired sound, contrasting with the pop ballads that made him famous. Despite his efforts, Now or Never had moderate success, debuting at number 17 on the Billboard 200, but failed to establish Nick as a breakout solo artist in the vein of Justin Timberlake, who had just released Justified to critical and commercial acclaim.
He burst onto the music scene, of course, as one-fifth of the pop group NSYNC. Now with his solo debut album, Justified, Justin Timberlake wants to prove that he can make the difficult transition from teen idol to soul man. Hi, Justin, how are you?
What a lovely intro.
Unlike Justin Timberlake, who leaned heavily into R&B influences to redefine his sound, Nick's pop rock approach was less in tune with the trends of the time. Nick stated, "I'm somebody who has got a single out that might not be meeting the expectations of what people thought. I'm just doing what's coming out of me. I have a really hard time faking who I am. I have such a passion for rock music." Further stating, "When people listen to the music and when they see me perform, I think that's the one time that they'll really understand what I'm doing is for real. I'm not here to fool anybody or follow a trend." Nick's frustrations were compounded by comparisons to Timberlake, whose transition from NSYNC frontman to solo superstar seemed seamless. Meanwhile, Nick struggled to escape the teen idol image, leading to a period of erratic behavior, excessive partying, and a growing sense of isolation.